Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and I've got a bit of an unusual one for you today. Given that it's the beginning of the month, it is time to look at the Patreon requests. And this one comes from Bladed Thesis, and he's asked me to look at Jackie Chan. Yes, that Jackie Chan. He is obviously a very, very well known, very highly regarded martial arts actor, but he's also a musician. He has done quite considerable amounts of music recordings for a lot of his films. When they did the Chinese translation of the Disney Mulan film, he did the voice of the captain, whose name I cannot remember, and Jackie Chan recorded all of the songs in Chinese for that character, like Make a Man Out of You, one of the most famous songs from Mulan. He recorded that. So, you know, I do know that he's a musician. I have heard some of his music before, and I've been asked to look at one of his songs today, a song called Rescue, specifically the rap version. When I tried to find this song, there were loads of versions for him. None of them specifically said rap version, so I hope I've got the right one. I haven't got any lyrics for it either. I could not find any lyrics for it. I could only find the original, either Mandarin or Cantonese. I'm not sure which language it was sung in. I can only find the original, like, Chinese lyrics. I could not find a translation anywhere. So we're not going to be able to actually discuss that part of it. From what I understand, this song was from the Police, one of the Police story films. He did a long-running series of films called Police Story, and this comes from the 2013 Police Story, I believe. Excuse me. But like I said, everybody well, I think most people know who Jackie Chan is, so I'm not going to go into any history as to who he is. So yeah, this should be interesting. I don't think there's much else to do except to jump into and have a look at the actual song. But before we do that, if you could just take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already, it would really, really mean the world to me. You know, I've been doing this for about 7 years by now, and not even 3% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, which is a little disheartening because, you know, I put a lot of time and effort into what I do. You know, I like to research songs and try and find lyrics and stuff to talk about, you know, have a bigger discussion about the actual piece of music. So, you know, I like to think I do something slightly different. But anyway, if you could take a moment to like and subscribe, you know, it would really mean the world to me. It doesn't cost anything. It takes a fraction of a second, but it does make the biggest difference to me and the channel. But with that being said, let's jump into this track and see what we've got. So, this is Rescue by Jackie Chan. Let's have a look.
平常不难唱，因为我想怎么可以唱过孙楠，这个就难一点。辉煌的街头，突然袭来了一阵寒流，遥远的温柔解不了今愁，是否在随波逐流？夜深人静的时候，谁又触痛了旧的伤口，一点点拼凑破碎的永久，是否我一无所有？故事不到最后，还要继续坚守，忠于自己的战斗。爱若需要厮守，恨更需要自由，爱与恨纠缠不休。我 人静的时候，谁又触痛了旧的伤口？一点点拼凑破碎的永久，是否我一无所有？故事不到最后，还要继续坚守，忠于自己的战斗。爱若需要厮守，恨更需要自由，爱与恨纠缠不休。我拿什么拯救？让爱覆水难收，谁能把谁挽留其原委？谁等待？我拿什么拯救？岂能见血封喉？谁能把谁保有了让爱永不朽？
Ugh. God, I love Jackie Chan. He's such a good actor. He's such a funny guy. Such a genuine and down to earth bloke as well. I mean, some of the videos that you see of Jackie Chan, like helping kids learn martial arts, and just generally helping kids in general with education and stuff like that. He's a very genuine, humble, down to earth kind of guy, and a fabulous actor as well. I mean, he acted alongside Bruce Lee for a start, and I absolutely adore Bruce Lee. He's one of my absolute heroes. So, Jackie Chan is just fantastic, and he's been going for quite a long time now. I mean, I can't think how old he is now, but I mean, he's pushing it a bit, but he's still able to do most of those amazing stunts that he does himself. And I mean, he has injured himself quite considerably over the years, but he is he's just an amazing man. That performance, I hope that was the right version of the song, because there was rap in it, but I don't know if it was the right version of the song, because like I said, when I tried to look up rap version, I mean, this is the one that came to the top of the list, but it didn't explicitly state whether or not it was rap version or not. I don't know. And like I said, I couldn't find any lyrics for the song that were in English. I couldn't find any translation at all, and all of the Chinese versions I found were not in the Chinese characters. I can't remember what it's called, because I know in Japanese it's called kanji. I don't know what it's called in Chinese, but it was written in Chinese. I couldn't find any written in Chinese characters, so I couldn't translate it through Google Translate or anything like that. So I could not find a bloody translation for the lyrics for this, which is really frustrating. But the performance is just brilliant. Jackie Chan has got an excellent voice, and he was, I mean, the song is featuring somebody else, Sun Nan, I believe was the name, and both the voices together, the harmonies there sounded absolutely fantastic. But one thing I've said predominantly through all of the years I've been doing this is, even if a piece of music is in a foreign language, you don't necessarily need the lyrics to feel the song. And you can tell there is a lot of emotion in this piece of music. Occasionally you do get an artist, I can't remember who it was an artist I looked at a little while ago, and the song itself was a pretty emotional piece of music, but the actual performance of it was pretty flat. You couldn't feel the emotion in the performance. But in this performance from Jackie Chan, in this song, you could feel there was quite a high emotional state involved with the performance. It is a very powerful performance, and it was very, very good. I really do wish I had the lyrics. If anybody can actually tell me what the actual song itself was about, the actual themes or anything behind the song, please do, because I would really like to know. But obviously the music video is interspersed between Jackie Chan himself in the studio, and clips of the film, some of the bloopers as well. They showed him having a couple of injuries, and right at the end he couldn't get his arm out of that thing. That's another great thing about Jackie Chan. He knows how to have a laugh, and he knows how to have a laugh at himself. Almost every film he's ever been in has had bloopers at the end of it, showing the things that went wrong, sometimes funny, sometimes quite serious injuries, because I think it was Armour of God, or something like that. That is possibly his most famous injury, where he basically broke a big hole in his skull. He's got I think it's a titanium plate in his skull after that one. It was quite a traumatic injury. There was Rumble in the Bronx when he jumped onto the hovercraft and he broke his ankle, and he performed the rest of the film with his foot in a cast, and like a mock-up version of his shoe over the top of the cast to make it look like he was wearing his trainers. The guy is an absolute legend. He's indefatigable. You cannot defeat the man. He is the closest thing to an actual god you'll probably ever find, because he is just so dedicated to what he does. He's so dedicated to his work. He's so dedicated to help that he gives to people. He's an amazing man. But the performance, Jackie Chan has got an excellent voice, and like I said, the harmonising with Sun Nan, sorry, the two voices just complemented each other so perfectly. And then there was that rapping bit, I think it started off with something, there was a bit somewhere near the middle. It was really good. There were lyrics on the screen, ironically, they were in Chinese. Every now and then there was some English words in there, but without context you couldn't really divine anything from the meaning of the song. But yeah, an excellent performance. Like I say, I have heard Jackie Chan perform music before. Like I said, in Disney films, he's in Mulan, he performed the songs there, and I have heard his version of Make a Man Out of You. I've heard that before. And for a lot of his own films, he normally provides the end credit song as well. And so I have heard him sing before, but he has got a very, very good voice, and the guy's just multi-talented. He's brilliant. So yeah, it's a bit of a letdown that I can't actually talk about what the song itself was about. It probably has something to do with the story within the film. Excuse me. But I haven't seen that particular film. I've seen a lot of Jackie Chan's films, but I've not seen that one. So yeah, unfortunately I can't really talk about what the song itself was about, but as an overall performance, it is a great performance. Yeah, I don't really know what else I can say, because I'm just going to end up repeating myself, saying how great he is and how good of a singer he is. I'm just going to end up repeating myself. So yeah, I don't know what else I can say on that, so I'm going to have to leave it at that. So yeah, an interesting and slightly different thing for me to look at, and I welcome that. When I first started this channel, I wanted to look at different kinds of music. I didn't just want to look only at metal. I wanted to investigate different genres, like be it rap or classical even, or opera, or Chinese pop, Japanese pop, and I have looked at some over the years, but predominantly I've looked at heavy metal. But I want to look at all sorts of different things. So it's nice and refreshing to look at something different for a change. Obviously metal is my first love when it comes to music, but I listen to all sorts of music, and I want to investigate other genres of music. So, if anybody has anything that isn't metal that they would like me to look at, let me know. Because I'm more than happy to give it a look, as long as it's good. But of course, that's very personal and individual to each person, because what one person might think is good, somebody might think is absolute garbage. But yeah, I don't know what else I can say on that. I'm just rambling and talking absolute bollocks because I haven't got anything else to talk about. So yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to leave it at that. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like or a subscribe if you haven't already. It would really mean a lot to me. I've been doing this for about 7 or so years, and not even 3% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, which is a little disappointing, because I like to think I do something a little bit different than most other reactors. You know, most reactors will look at a piece of music, go, yeah, I liked it, no, I didn't, and that's about all you'll get. You know, I like to talk about the songs, the meanings, the themes, the morals, the stories that are within the actual lyrics of songs, because I think that's something that gets overlooked pretty easily. You know, most people just put on a piece of music and that's about it. You know, they don't pay close enough attention to what the actual song itself is about. So, you know, I like to talk about that sort of thing, because there's this common misconception that heavy metal is all about murder, violence, gore, and, you know, aggression, that sort of thing. And that's something that I want to dispel, you know, because, you know, I mean, heavy metal has been used as a scapegoat so many times for so many different things, you know, because everybody's, oh, it's devil's music, and it's not. You know, most of the songs I've covered on this channel, you know, I've looked at close to 900 songs on this channel, and most of them have talked about real world issues like mental health, depression, homelessness, domestic violence, you know, veterans being left out in the cold and ignored by the governments that used them. You know, most of the songs I've looked at here have had some real deep, important meanings behind them. And there are these people out there that just won't take that into consideration. You know, they just hear the vocal styles of heavy metal and immediately go, oh, it's violence, it's satanic, it's evil. And that's just simply not true. And that's why I do what I do. I like to investigate. I like to have a discussion about the song, you know, what it means to me, what it means to you, what, you know, what does the song actually mean? You know, because there's a, I think it was Dave Grohl said, you know, you can sing a song to 80,000 people and those 80,000 people will sing it back to you for 80,000 different reasons, because music is a universal language. You know, a song can mean one thing to one person, but it can mean something completely different to somebody else. You know, it might be associated with a memory. It might, you know, it might mean something. They might read the lyrics differently to you. You know, and I want to have this discussion. I want to have that conversation to find out what a song means to you, what the song means to me. You know, find out more about the artist through their music. And that's why I do what I do. You know, and I thought other people might enjoy that, you know, rather than just going, yeah, it was good. You know, and that's a, you know, yes, it's a reaction to a piece of music, but you're not actually reacting to the song. You're just listening to it and going, yeah, I like it. And yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm just waffling on. So, you know, if you could like and subscribe, you know, it would mean the world to me. You know, it doesn't cost you anything. It takes a fraction of a second, but it does make the biggest difference to me and to the channel. But that's all I've got for you today for that one. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
夜深人静的时候，谁又触痛了旧的伤口？一点点拼凑破碎的永久是否？